All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Belchertown Community Preservation Committee for January 7th, 2025. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yay.
All right. So on our agenda this evening, we've got the discussion of some grant applications. We're going to discuss our calendar of development for our committee. Also, our at-large member and also our Housing Authority member. And let's see here. And we do have a few guests that have come to our meeting to update us on their project. So I guess with a large audience here, I will start with that crew. And Linda LeDuc, our Department of Public Works, has a application in for our town beach. And so improvements. So if I can get you to give us a quick overview and let us know where you're at and what you're looking for.
Sure. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to see you guys. And my counterpart here.
Okay.
Yes, so we submitted an application to you all this year for funding for resurfacing and stormwater improvements at the town beach parking lot. Primarily, it's actually matching funds for a 319 grant, which I would submit, that's due in May. They generally require a 40% match. So, first and foremost, this is a matching request for another grant, a future grant. So I would fully expect that if that grant weren't, if that didn't come to fruition, I wouldn't be looking for these funds. But we did submit it under recreation, under the funding pool of recreation, because the intention is to not only through the 319 improve the water quality of the lake, which is currently a Category 5 impaired water body. We would be able to then have the parking lot open year-round, which currently is only open during the rec department summer hours. We would be able to have it open year-round and allow parking access to the trailheads that are adjacent to the lake. And the rec department would be looking for improving their recreational programs for some winter activities.
The other thing is where the current public access for canoes, kayaks, and kind of rowboats, because there's no motorboats on Acadia, is behind the house where Art Lemire used to live. And that avenue is cleared, but it's not the most conducive for parking for the general public, as well as to get boats in and out. We've tried to clear up some of the branches, but it's just a really tight area that, working with DPW in the past, tried to clean that up. With the parking lot improvements, we would have obviously a parking lot where people could park, and then an access point to allow the general public to access the water with their canoes, kayaks, etc. from the parking lot instead of around the house, was part of this plan. When this kind of all came to be, Steve Williams obviously was the DPW director at the time. We started looking at the town beach parking lot just to do an overlay, but because of the storm water piece of the puzzle, that went from about between $40,000 and $50,000 to what this grant application is, just due to all of the regulations and the concerns of the water quality, as she pointed out. Just a little bit of background: we at the rec had trees removed in the parking lot around 2017, and in 2018 we tied into the water and town water and sewer down there. It was on a well and on a septic system. So they wanted to make the move. We got that rectified and that complete at that point, and then we were looking at the next piece of the puzzle, which would have been the parking lot. And Steve had kind of taken the reins on that as far as the layout and the designs that we needed to meet for the specs for the stormwater regulations at that point.
Yep. Okay.
I did submit some pictures. You can see how bad the condition of the parking lot is. Part of that is because of the water and the sewer connection. So when that was put in, it was cut and then just really,
Rough graded to finish, if that.
with the intent, right, with the thought that we would finally get to this point.
Fix it later.
But yes, with the need for, best management practices for stormwater, that has certainly increased the price, and over the years, I've had, Hancock Associates had, Steve initially had them give a quote, and each year it's gone up, so we're at this, final $340,000 price tag with the 40% match. This request is for the $136,356.
Now, that little Town Beach Road there, is that like, is that the only access, I mean, is the Town Beach the only user of that roadway, or is there other houses along?
No, there's houses on Town Beach Road, and then it
Okay.
connects to Lake Drive, which is the, it's not the paved road, it's the, dirt road, where
Yep.
there are houses on that. One of the concerns years ago, as we tied into the water and sewer from conservation and stuff, was to try to find out who else on that roadway, Lake Drive and even Town Beach Road, who weren't tied into town water and sewage, to try to make that move to eliminate any further issues or future issues of anything leaking into the lake and the water quality, where everybody also lives.
Yep. I mean, are other houses along that roadway still on private septic, or do you know if they're all been tied into sewer?
I believe Town Beach Road is tied into water and sewer. I'm not sure about Lake Drive.
Okay.
I think there's an option to tie in.
Right.
I don't know if everyone has.
Right, okay. Yeah,
I think they
unfortunate,
do that.
because I mean, that's probably one of the biggest contributors to the algae growth is the, people's leaching septic systems into the.
That and probably lawn fertilizers.
Yep, those are the two big, sure. I mean, luckily you guys aren't using the parking area during the winter, otherwise it would be in much worse condition than it already is, I mean, that, so,
Right, and the way, because it was the former boat launch,
yeah.
it just, right now, it just
Everything
heads
just
straight,
flows
yeah,
right.
there's a big area that the stormwater just, so any parking that's done during the summer, it is, that first flush is going straight into the lake.
Yep.
Which is a good reason why we have to minimize its use.
And you said something about the lake being graded as a 5, I mean, is that, 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, or?
As far as I know, it's a 1 to 5.
And the
So
5
this is
no.
the worst, category for TMLDs, so,
Yep.
it's, and this program, this federal program, is, I think I said in the application, is focusing on, the impaired water bodies that are 4A, B, and 5.
Yep. Okay.
So I think we have a really good chance of getting the funding. Last year, full disclosure, last year, so this is a federal program that the DEP, the state, manages. And last year, the state found the matching funds. So any community that received 319 funding, their match was paid for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not able to find out, it's too early in the season to find out if that's the case this year. So that potentially, we might not need matching funds because the state might find it, or they might lower the required, might go from 40 to 25%, or we don't get the grant. So there's a little bit of an up in the air as to whether this is, I'm gonna fully need the CPC funding, but because there's a note that, applications that do come in with matching funds are prioritized, I felt like it was, worth submitting the application and,
Yep.
Getting the best, opportunity we can to get funding.
So, is the deadline for the federal, grant, does that come after town meeting?
Let's see, I put in, there was a timeline in the, it's close.
Right, I was just thinking,
Or do you need to have the funds
That's
in
what I'm
hand,
wondering.
or, does a letter of that, we're moving it forward to town, to a town meeting vote?
So the
that would-
competitive grant should be due by in May.
right,
and then we have town meeting on May 12th.
Right.
So, I assume town meeting, I don't have a deadline for the grant yet.
Okay.
But my thought is, you know, if May 12th is,
After
yeah,
the
well,
due
if
date?
it's before, it's a good chance it's gonna be before. Besides that, if the CPC recommends, you know, that this project be funded, that is probably gonna be enough information,
So if
Yep.
the grant is due on May 11th,
right?
Or-
and we say that, you know, we write a letter stating that, you know,
Yes.
at the town meeting, you know, we will be putting this forward. with-
Yeah,
with a positive
I think
recommendation.
I think that will be sufficient.
Okay, Michael, this was your project, so do you have some questions you want?
So, let me start with, Kyle,
Sure.
the current access for getting canoes, kayaks, et cetera, in, how do they currently get access to the water frontage?
So they have to go on Lake Drive, which is the dirt road right behind that first house where Art and Mir lives. There's a spot that's technically town owned where people can park, and then they unload their kayak, say for instance, and then they walk it down through there, and they can choose to keep their car there. Most people will drop off kind of their kayak and then go back around and park kind of right in front of the town beach gate that is locked when we're not in season. Like in the fall and spring, that's how they access it. That's the only access point from town property. The rest is all private property that people own with their houses and such.
All right. Have there been community complaints as a result of cars being parked because the gates have been locked and there's no access to public parking?
So we've received phone calls of people asking where they can launch their canoe or kayak into the lake, and once we explain it to them, they kind of get frustrated, or we'll get a phone call back that, you know, there's nothing that marks it. There's one little sign there. It's not really your typical boat launch that you see at most lakes access points. You know, that's just where it has been currently off season when the gates have been closed for, you know, the reasons of that. So we have gotten complaints on that it's not good, and usually they will leave, take their things, and either go to Metacomet or to a different location. Or if they do go in, they may not return.
That's from the users of the boat ramp, the ones that
Right.
have a trailer with their
Right.
boat. What about the neighbors? What about the people
No-
that live along Lake
No real
Drive or
complaints
Town Beach?
about
I'm aware there are.
parking as far as in their yard. The new family that moved into that house that's right there had questioned, but before they moved in, we met with them and I personally met with them, kind of gave them an overview of Town Beach and kind of that access point. I know during certain times of the year when we go to close and cars are parked all the way up Town Beach Road, there has been concerns in the past because people will park on either side. And when we close, they may not leave, or they may be still in the water coming out of that other access point. And the concern was you can't get an ambulance down that roadway. Even during season, we had to move cars during 4th of July when it's really busy down there, or hot 4th of July where people are there. We have to make sure that people aren't kind of double park on either side to allow access for an ambulance or emergency vehicles to get down the roadway.
Okay. Next question is, right now, the gates are locked.
Correct.
If this is all successful and all fully done, will the gates still be locked?
So there wouldn't be, it would be open to the public, and part of this, in the conversation prior with Steve, is if we had a parking lot open to the public for public use, this will allow for more recreational activities, not just programmed through the rec, if we had something at like the town beach, but because of the trailheads that are local, people want to use access to the new launch, if you will, to access kayak and canoeing. That would give people the opportunity to show up, park there, access the lake, and then the trailheads that are close to that. We have had discussions about, you know, adding more programs year round with additional parking and some different activities that could really benefit the community.
We'll get to
So,
that in
Sure.
a second. But the intent, if this is successful, the intent would be to leave the gates unlocked, open.
Correct.
24
We
hours a
add-
day,
we add additional
365.
signage from our end. On the rec side, we add additional signage on the fence leading into the town beach, you know, no lifeguard on duty, off-season, things like
Okay,
that. We would need to post.
that's where I'm,
Yep, so
Okay.
things like that would be upgraded, even the fence itself is about 4 or 5 feet, we would probably bulk that up and make the fencing a little higher, was in the initial conversation of if we upgrade the parking lot, there would be some upgrades that we would have to do on our side of things, signage, everything like that, cause right now we can lock the gate and say, beach closed, no trespassing, right on the roadway, and you know, it's locked, you can't really access it. But yes, there would be.
but the intent would be to have it unlocked and the gate
When it's
open.
open, yep,
Okay.
yep.
As far as what will the, or what would you envision the town offering in terms of additional formal recreational projects and programs?
So we've had a couple people reach out in the past on trying to utilize the town beach for activities like yoga on the beach. We've had a couple people reach out about paddleboard yoga or a paddleboard class. Some of that we've tried to work around now with Steve as a town manager. He feels that we can have some adult programs without the concern of having a lifeguard necessarily on duty for certain programs that deal with the waterway. But we're working out that logistics. But there has been interest from different people in the community to run programs down at the town beach. Another thing that we have done is we rented out the space for UMass and Amherst College to use the beachfront for their sailing clubs. They come down, they'll have their program there, and they run a community day where anyone from Belchertown, we put it out there to show up, and they kind of take them out and show them the sailing and their sailboats and things like that. So this would open up some more avenues, you know, to help run programs there. And then even winter time, you know, once again, weather conducive, everybody's called years past, they want, you know, the town common flooded so they can ice skate, all that. If the lake ever froze well enough, I would like to open up the town beach area to allow ice skating and stuff, obviously working with the fire department to check the ice, make sure it's safe for people to be on, etc. Obviously we haven't had the weather to do that, but those are things that, you know, I would like to have the opportunity to do. And then anyone that knows, obviously Amherst has their Winterfest, which is a week-long program. You know, I've thrown out ideas about trying to run even a 1 or 2 day event at the town beach. Once again, doing different activities, incorporating the winter time, you know, maybe during February break or the weekend prior, or the weekend towards the end of it, to do something organized with some different departments, etc. So there are some ideas out there that we're looking at to try to run.
But nothing formal.
Nothing formal right now, but people have asked to run some of the programs at the town beach even in upcoming spring, and we're working on that because you know, we've gotten the approval that we don't need certain things prepared before from Steve. So this spring I expect there will be at least maybe 1 or 2 formal ones through the rec at that location before we open for the summer season.
Okay. And Linda, with the 319, is that a federal or is that a state offering of the funds?
So the 319 program is through the federal government, but it comes down, the federal money comes down to the state and is then distributed through DEP.
Okay.
So the application goes to,
And the state is the one looking for matching funds? Or is it the federal?
no, the federal government, it's the federal government looking for matching funds.
Okay, and that's then your comment about in the past, there have been
Right.
occasions where the state
So last
said
year.
we would provide the
was
match
first
rather
time.
than.
So this is a tough program. It's not easy for people to get interested in. It's a hard, once you get federal funding, you have all this massive reporting, and it's not an easy program to administer locally. So the state has found that to be a problem. People aren't jumping at applying for this money. So last year was the first year that the state found the matching funds, state funds. So I don't know, I'm hoping that this year is the same, or they could require less, but yeah, so maybe I won't need this money from,
Well, and that's,
from the town.
whether you need it or not
Yeah,
is, well, I shouldn't phrase it that way. From our perspective,
Mhm.
the plan would be to treat it as if you needed it.
Yes, and that's how I've
That's how we'll
submitted
present
this.
it, and
Yes.
if in fact we do recommend, it would be contingent upon
Yes,
successfully achieving the 319, 60% or whatever it is.
right, and I should be learning more about how the program is coming down this year. I will be working with Patty Gambarini at PVPC. She will be assisting me in putting the application together. Last time I spoke to her, just before Christmas, there wasn't any, the program hadn't been launched yet. She didn't know about any matching funds, but as soon as I learn anything, I will be back in touch with you all to let you know if it's changed.
And if there is a significant administrative burden, are those hours, monitoring and recording and documenting, part of the shared costs? Have you ever taken advantage of those hours
Well, I
and
get it.
charged them
So
against
the
the?
problem is, yes, but the problem is, the matching funds are for the total project cost. So I can't reduce my request for the 40% by matching it with my time.
With internal,
Yeah, so what I
Okay.
can do is, I can request the 40%. Now see, I ran this all through my head, because I can't reduce it with administrative in-kind hours,
okay.
because the match is based on the total cost.
They're looking for a certain dollar value in their pocket.
Right,
They won't recognize the work that you do internally with our own equipment
Or even record keeping, that is
or
part of
record keeping is
which is
where I was
part of
going.
the
but-
clerk of the
well,
work
that's,
kind of stuff.
and that's part of the match.
Right.
Because I had all those numbers figured out, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I can't subtract that from the total cost.
Okay. And I think that's all my questions. Thank you.
Okay.
I
Megan?
just had a couple of questions. Carl, you referenced the cost of upgrades. Is that part of this grant that you would be doing?
No.
No.
That would just be the signage and the fence.
And I know off the top of your head, I'm not asking for, but what's the ballpark and what would that look like?
So fencing,
I know you can guess, it's
yeah,
okay
I
with guessing.
would say if I had to guess, we've looked at it before, probably, I had to guess like $6,000 roughly, for the bottom fence that borders
Mhm.
where the entrance of the gates. Some of the gates are fine, we don't need to upgrade them, some we probably need to just reinforce, just so no one tries to break in or hop the fence.
Okay.
The other thing is we do have a camera system that's down there. For the beach, we have to upgrade some of that, so that might be something we easily put in as well, and that will help deter any issues.
Hopefully.
Yes,
Right,
hopefully.
right.
So that could be the
So
other
it would be,
avenue.
so cameras and fencing. and-
Yeah, cameras we already have, it would just be
Today could
upgrading
be
that system a little, and then
$2,000.
some of the fencing to bulk up, and then obviously signage, that we need to put along that entrance port.
Fencing, it's the bane of our existence, isn't it? Today it's cheap, tomorrow, all of a sudden, it's not cheap anymore, okay. And then, you talked about ice skating for like some of the winter activities.
Yep.
Because, what you're trying to expand, and that's good so long as it's safe. You had, someone here, I think it was you, Jim, had spoken about ice fishing.
Right.
And is that something that happens on Lake Arcadia? Is that something,
So in the years past,
Yeah.
it has happened through, I think, the Tri-Lakes Association, not the committee, they have their derby, since.
But they do that at Metacomet because of the public access.
Correct.
Right.
Public access there. This could be something we could obviously allow access and run something, once again, weather conducive, 100%.
maybe a little more for fun
Correct.
versus
Correct, a
like
derby
a
or
real
like-
fishing fish?
Well, right, that
You
is
know.
a, put on
Correct.
tournament, but I mean, ice
Right.
fishing is a fish at your own risk. I mean, people go out on Metacomet at this time or any other lake on the state and,
Mhm.
you fish at your own risk based on, your
And to your
Right.
point, if we were to run something, I would have the fire department go down, make sure it was safe to allow a program for ice fishing and stuff like that, just because of liability. But yes, I would be open to that, even near the trailheads, snowshoeing, park there, you meet there, that's your point place. From there, you go to the trails,
okay,
all
so
of that in the
those are
winter.
some of those things.
And even in the fall, once again, programs like yoga down at the beach, to utilize it more than it's been utilized right now would be beneficial, because it is a nice spot, it's right there on the water, and I think we could take advantage. I know in the past, I think John and Linda had explained years ago, they used to have like a luau down there to culminate the start of summer or the end of summer, so even bringing something like that back is, events like that is what I would honestly like to do, and this, for us, would help provide the parking, because we go out and we'll paint parking lines with just our field paint to make sure when people park during our open season that they're actually parking so people can get out, because we run into issue people double parking and accidents, so this would also eliminate some of that headache as well.
Yeah, I was just thinking like that you could use that opportunity to get more kids and other community members involved in things that they may not necessarily want to, but, you know, right, if it's available to try, like the sailing, which I like a lot. I hope we can get some boats to start some sailing over there too. All right.
That it?
And I'd just like to comment on Linda's application, because once again, Linda, this is the standard that we expect. And you always do such an amazing job. Kyle, this is the exemplar. All right, thank you.
I like writing grants.
You do an excellent job.
Thank you.
David, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Alex?
Oh, yeah.
Go for it.
What's the water quality for Holland Pond?
I don't know.
Holland Pond does feed.
So I submitted a breakdown of the impaired water bodies in Belchertown. Find that for you. In there somewhere.
Well, is it better than 5?
So Lake Holland is 4C.
Yeah,
Metacomet is 5.
it's not that great either.
Arcadia is 5. So, you know, as you state, they're all connected.
Yeah.
They all need some
Okay.
management.
Next question, there's some sort of plan, if this goes through, during the winter time to plow that parking lot, right? Now, is that your people or your people doing that?
That's mine, and I actually submitted the long-term maintenance costs, which my math is wrong. I broke
No, that's
it
okay, you
down.
don't have to go into it, just,
Well,
Yeah,
it's right there. I mean,
yeah.
stormwater maintenance, pavement marking, winter plowing, winter salt and sand. You know, the
My
total
is
is,
wrong.
you know,
It's it should be $30,500, and I did the math
Oh,
before I added something
It's
else.
so
in
you
there. I
can
didn't
yeah,
salt
say.
on the parking lot, just
25,000.
wash it on.
Sorry?
These were the salt going down, with that going to the pond. from,
Good point. I mean, well, the stormwater system is to shed the water into
Okay.
the pea stone and then the swale, and we may not salt it. We probably, if there's any salting, it potentially just could be on the sidewalks.
Okay,
So probably more of a sanding, but the silt, everything's supposed to run into the stormwater
right, the whole
BMPs
system,
before
that's
they
why
ever
you're
get
building
into the lake.
thing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about people skating. You have to get the snow off the ice before they can skate.
Right.
Are you making provisions for that?
Well, I'd hope to, yes, like,
If we have
yes,
ice.
if we have to, the first thing is go to the fire department, make sure it's safe, then from there come up with a plan on how to clear, how large of an area to clear, et cetera, that all plays into it.
Hockey games.
our winter classic here in Belchertown, huh?
There it is, right?
Uh,
Get up the bees.
One more thing, kind of irrelevant. My wife takes grandchildren down there a lot. She says your toilets need TLC. Thank you. I'm done.
Whatever it is.
Wilbur?
I am good, and thank you for the grant.
Well, fine job. Between all of the questions that we've had, mine were answered earlier. There again. So, I guess the only other question that I had was, would you consider this as maybe a multi-year project instead of in lieu of getting a grant, through the federal government? So, could this be something where, or maybe you come back next year if you don't get the grant saying, hey, we want to do this, instead of asking for all the money one year, we'll ask for it over, a 2 or 3 year period. And at that point, if you do get additional funding, great. And if not, after 2 years, you might have enough to do this project on it, standalone on your own without any grant. So I think that's something that, because I can see the value in doing this, irregardless whether you get a grant or not. And so I would love to see that, that part of it move forward.
I appreciate that. Yes, if we don't get the grant,
Right.
is that shouldn't be the end of this very important project.
Right.
So I wanted to go this route first.
Yep.
And get some federal money, to see if we can't get the project done.
Right.
But I appreciate if we don't, having the opportunity to come back to you guys and, like you say, maybe multi-year.
I would like to see that, because I think,
Okay.
it's a worthy project. I think,
Okay.
it's a nice, beautiful lake, beautiful, area that, is underutilized,
Yeah.
really is, so.
Yeah. Great.
So we have a bunch of people from the public here. I don't know if you guys are here for.
May I?
Yep.
While we have you here, on a totally different topic, because
No.
you're here.
We'll talk of that after we, open any questions of this to the public on this particular grant.
I
Is
have a
it?
question.
Yes.
My name's Rainey, I'm on the Lake Committee for Town, and I'm just, with the increased use of potential boats going on the Arcadia, would there be a boat washing station involved in this new?
I mean, I think it's gonna be car top, boats only, so it's
Yeah.
not like there's gonna be trailers backing into the water or
You know, you
anything
still,
else.
if you've kayaked or,
Sure.
canoed, wherever.
I mean, I think that would be more signage than it would be an actual
Or
boat
signage,
washing, right,
right.
Yeah.
stop the spread of,
That's a good point.
of invasive species.
We'll
I
certainly
mean,
look at signage.
That could be an upgrade.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Kyle,
There you go.
write that down.
That was a question that came up with another grant that we're gonna be talking about, yes. Was exactly that thing about, if nothing else, make sure we have clear and definitive signage.
Yeah.
Right, maybe even.
So
like at stations and
excellent
lodges,
point, thank you.
Before you even put it in, just give it a good once down and then it goes in.
Yeah, and you'll see that signage at other water bodies.
Right, the state is
Yeah.
very good at that. I think the one over at Metacomet needs a little bit of help, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else for this Town Beach? All right. Now you may ask something.
All right, just to, follow up on something. A while back, we allocated funds to drill a well.
Correct.
How's that going?
It's in and it's functioning.
Working fine?
So far, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I guess one other question I had for you was, I love the exterior lighting that we did at the parking lot. Donna's been very good in sending us updates and
Should've
everything
gotten
else.
a
I did,
condition letter.
we did get the final update, so. But one question is, the bottom lower parking lot, are you gonna look to do some additional lighting there?
So there is, I have funds to buy one more lamp to put in on this side of the parking lot.
Okay,
You can see there should be one in the middle. Now, I don't know exactly where it's going because there is a sewer connection there.
yep,
But I do have funds to buy one more lamp.
okay.
Yeah, so,
Right, cause you got it at the top and you got it at the bottom on the street side, and that void in the middle is kind of.
yeah, I mean, there's another one that maybe could go on the other side, but we're sensitive to the residents.
Okay,
So, and I was trying to get money for a backup, just in case one got damaged,
mhm,
but I do have money for one more to go down.
okay. Perfect. Excellent.
I love that.
Thank
No,
you.
Really nice. I mean,
Thank you.
another great
Really-
project that
I'm
we,
happy
you
the
know.
way they,
Right.
Yeah,
the way
no,
that they
it-
look, and my team did an amazing job with getting those installed, and there was a little delay on the shipping, and there was a part, they had trouble with the manufacturer, but once they got here, they got them in.
Yep, excellent.
they look-
Great, thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you. Good job.
No, I appreciate
All set?
All done?
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, I didn't get actually on my agenda who was supposed to be coming here this evening. Oh, wait a minute, we had Town Beach, McPherson Sensory, and Tri-Lakes, okay.
Horse barn.
No, that was last week.
Oh, you're right.
We had Grace Adzema here last week on the horse barn, so. Tri-Lakes, let's just flow it right in from Town Beach into Tri-Lakes here, so.
Okay, yeah.
Who do we have? Hi.
I'm sorry, Andy, which one?
Tri-Lake,
Actually, the lake is, actually the lake committee.
It's
Right,
from the
okay.
Lakes Committee,
There we
not
go.
from the Tri-Lakes.
Before, if you don't mind, while they're getting ready, explain the Lakes Committee versus Tri-Lakes.
The Lakes Committee is the town committee that deals with the funding and the town side of things, where the Tri-Lakes is a fundraising group that has private fundraising for nonprofit that raises money and then generously gives us money to supplement the town.
So the Tri-Lakes would be equivalent to a Friends of the,
Right.
Type
the
of
Friends
organization.
Library, the BC's,
That
right,
Senior
a
Center.
501c3?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
all right, why don't you, for the cameras, for the committee, just give us a quick overview of what you're looking to do, and, I mean, I've got your, application here, the total project cost is $86,000, you're seeking $50,000 for CPC funds, and a cost share of $36,000 from the Tri-Lakes Aquatic or Tri-Lakes Committee, Belchertown Lakes Committee, so give us a quick overview of what you guys are.
I'm Diane Plant, and this is Rini.
And Marini Desiree.
John Folger from the Lakes Committee. Just a quick overview, and then John has all the numbers in his head, so I'm
Mhm.
gonna, for many years, they've been trying to treat the lakes close together, like within it would be wonderful if we could do it all at once. But what's happened over the years with funding problems is one lake gets treated, 3 to 5 years later, another lake gets treated, 3 to 5 years later, another one. So it's just a vicious cycle where the weeds just, because they flow into each
Yep.
other, and they just, one gets clear, and then the next one, it just, so what we're trying to do we have the funds to do Metacomet, which you just said, between the ARPA funds and Tri-Lakes donation, we're gonna be able to do Metacomet. So we're looking for the other money to treat Arcadia and Holland close together to that, so that after that, we can just do maintenance, what would be called spot treatment. So if we do it all at once,
Yep.
close together, we'll be able to do that. So, and it's been, I've been on the lake about 10 years, and we've done few treatments, but they're always 3 to 5 years apart.
Yep.
And so the goal is to get them closer together, so that,
Okay. And, right, after you do that cycle like that, you end up running, you may not revisit that first lake for,
right,
6 years later, so, which
Right.
is way too long of a wait
Correct.
between invasive species treatment, okay.
correct. So that's why we've come to you to try to get that additional funds to treat the other 2 lakes close to treating Metacomet this year. We're gonna
Yep.
treat Metacomet this year. John, can you give the money piece if they, I don't know if they have any questions?
So I was gonna say, you pretty much gave the estimate was right there with the 50,000, what we're looking for, that would treat Holland and Arcadia. Metacomet with the 36 then gets obviously all 3 lakes treated.
Yep.
And then when we get into, again, versus these are full lake treatments versus the spot treatments, where if we get to the maintenance portion, which will be roughly about 15% of a total, 10 to 15% of a total treatment of the lake. And again, it's the company coming out and looking to see exactly where the weeds have now, have now arrived again, and then doing those treatments more on a yearly basis so that we can, ultimately, obviously the goal is to, on a yearly basis, be able to try to bring the company out, identify those areas, get them spot treated, so we're on a continuous cycle instead of the cycle we've been on, which has been treat a lake 5 years later, then have to hit it again and hit the whole entire lake with a bigger, obviously, cost involved in regards to it.
Okay. Wilbur, this is your project. I don't know if you, I guess I'll let you take the lead on it, and then we'll send it around the committee for ask some questions and see where we're.
So I went down with Diane and John to take a look at the boat ramp and also the lakes and the sign and the bathroom and all that kind of stuff. So I saw where they're heading, which sounds really good.
Yep.
The bathroom that's down there is privately funded by somebody down in that area, which I guess is okay. For me, the big thing was, is this maintenance or is this a program? Is this a one-time kind of program? And I think that's what it is. So we get it settled, so we don't have this recurring, always weeds, we're looking around the corner, da-da-da-da, when are we gonna treat it? So we do this giant treatment for these 3 lakes, kind of at the same time. They'll be a year apart, basically, right? But within 12 months, they'll all be treated, and then we can move forward with some maintenance issues going down the road. I think that pretty much says it all in a nutshell. Considering Wilbur, who's always running late, forgot all his notes at his house and the grants. I do have a copy of the grant here, but it is something that's used a lot. One thing you might want to talk a little bit about is especially the Tri-Lakes, and I know you're not here for the Tri-Lakes, but there's been a little bit of turnover in some of the people, and that's with every organization that we have that. But it seems like there is an uptick in the interest into the committees and also what you're doing for fundraising. It's very unfortunate that the fishing derby just has not helped, but you've got a couple of the fundraisers. Yes, it is. But so, can you talk a little bit about the groups, the 2 different groups?
Mark's
the vice president.
Mark's the vice president of Tri-Lakes.
Hi, I'm Mark Plant, Vice President on Tri-Lakes. So, over just to your question, the Tri-Lakes now has a fully functioning board. We actually have our last meeting from 2024 scheduled for Monday night just because of conflicts and stuff. So we meet on a quarterly basis. Our primary function, I think as Diana pointed out, is fundraising to support the Lakes Committee, therefore supporting the town. We have several functions that we run. Generally, it's a chicken barbecue, ice fishing when we can plan for it.
Yep.
Of course, we didn't plan this year. Now we have ice on Arcadia. We tried to plan the last few years. We never had ice, so it's been a few years since we've had the ice fishing. That's a big draw.
Yep.
It's a big draw for money to raise. So I will say we also have, I believe, on the board now representatives from all 3 lakes, which is really a positive. We've gone through some times where it's been more one lake represented than the others. Right now, Holland, Arcadia, and Metacomet have members on the board of directors, as well as active people that come to the meetings on a regular basis. So, again, that's Tri-Lakes. Our job is really fundraising, maybe some education, but we heavily lean towards the fundraising component of it, donating that money to support the efforts of the lake.
Yeah, so as you can see, that's what I'm talking about, the uptick. They've got 2 different organizations or committees that are in place now that
Yep.
are functioning very, very well, and obviously there's a coordination between the 2 committees. And you have a husband and wife team that probably spends their whole time talking.
We have several it's actually good, we have several people on the board.
So for me, there was a couple issues that came up, but for me, I think everything's been settled and talked about from my standpoint. I think it's good. There's a little talk about the fertilization, and I've talked to a few people who said there's not really a lot of lawn-fertilization there. That's the good thing. And the other thing is we don't have a number of how many people have tied in or haven't tied in. But I'm wondering if we could get that number. I'm not asking for it tonight.
I have it at home, I wish I had
Yeah,
brought
we
it.
actually have, we have some.
I had gotten it from Steve Williams
Yeah.
a few years ago, cause I wanted to know,
Sure,
and there are a lot of people not,
right.
just tell you that.
You think
I-
is it like 50-50, 60-40?
Maybe 60-40.
Have not tied
Even
in
on
yet?
But it also
Metacomet,
include everybody, like, on the outskirts, not like on the other
It's
side
not
of
just
the
the
sign.
line.
Right, across the street, but yeah,
all the
right.
houses there, it all runs.
Yep, exactly.
And it's mostly, the biggest thing is the gray water from washing machines, dishwashers.
Yep.
And they do it because you can walk by and you can hear people running right.
Right, I
next to
mean,
it.
and that has the high phosphorus content right
Right.
in that, right.
Right, and I don't, it's expensive for people
I
to.
believe when a house gets sold on the lake, that they have to connect into the town. 'Cause I
Yep.
know one on, Holland and one on Arcadia that were recently sold had to connect in,
Okay,
part of the sale process.
sure. Okay. Well, I know they paid a betterment, you know,
They had
everybody's
to
paid
do
the
that.
betterment, but
Yeah.
you know, you still gotta pay for the tie-in fee and then pay for of course, the quarterly or the yearly, you know,
All that.
water and sewer fee, sure.
And the other point, which is very obvious, you're also fighting a little bit of this climate change issue that we have. The reason why you don't have ice every winter, all winter long, and so that's gonna hurt your weed problem a little bit. So starting with a giant program like you are doing now and then being able to maintain it is probably very important, so. So there you go, that's me.
Alex, you have any questions?
Okay, I went round and round with Sarah Fortune on this. And she was very enlightening. Now, first of all, I'm opposed to dumping chemicals in water. I don't like it. However, are these chemicals specific to milfoil and fanwort? Or are we going to wipe out all kinds of other plant life?
I'll have to get the specific answer from the company. As far as I'm aware, the sonar treatment that they do targets those specific, the invasive weeds and invasive weeds only, not the other plant life.
Well, over here it says, target plants, nuisance, excessive aquatic plant growth. Now, I understand milfoil and fanwort. You can't cut it, it just grows back thicker, I understand that. So I understand trying to control that, but are you gonna try to control like the lily pads and?
No. They never disappear. Been treated, they never are hurt by it. We've been there, a witness to it. They treated Lake Arcadia, the lily pads, the whole lily down the end are all there, that were there. They were never touched by the summer.
So this is specific to milfoil and fanwort.
As far as I know, Sarah would be, what did Sarah say to you? She's one of the experts too. That's, yes.
Okay, but
As far, I'm
you've
not gonna tell you
seen-
100%
You've seen
because
them
I'm
use
not,
this and it hasn't affected the lily pads.
not on Lake Arcadia.
Okay, fine.
We're witnessing.
Are there any effects to the people swimming at the town beach when we're dumping chemicals?
Typically, there's a period where it has to be posted that there's gonna be, obviously the treatment's gonna be taking effect. Typically at that time, it's a 24-hour period where there would be, they would not want people to be in the water during that 24-hour period. And that's been with previous treatments as well, when they've been done on Metacomet, Arcadia or Holland.
And the treatments are actually more harmful to dogs swimming than that people can swim during that, but.
We usually
Not
do it
recommended.
early so that the beach isn't even open
Yeah.
when we do it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
done
usually
in the
April, May,
spring.
and June, so.
It would be before the beach even opens.
Now, when these plants die, you get this sludge that settles onto the bottom of the lake. Then what?
Did you talk to them about the matting? Did you talk to them?
They have the matting, they said that dies off and just will disintegrate on its own. Sometimes there is matting that comes to the surface. Depending on the matting that comes to the surface, there might be If there is a significant amount, there might be a cost for us to remove the matting that comes to the surface. Everything else that the company informed me of that goes to the bottom dies off and dissolves, is what the company informed me when I talked to them.
Thank you. I'm good.
Jim, can I just jump back?
I mean, go ahead.
If you don't treat for 20 years, what happens?
You lose the lake.
You lose the lake and the opportunities that are associated with it.
Sure, and you lose a lot of the animal life that, the aquatic, that, because the plants, consume all the oxygen, and now there's no oxygen left for your, the other animals that live in the lake, for sure. Okay. I guess my only, is, does the town contribute for, like, the annual treatment of the lake? So, we're gonna be spending the 80 some odd thousand, and I see that, you're looking at, what was it here, just year end or, your annual, maintenance budget, and I saw that it says you would, basically, you've gotten town and ARPA money, you guys will, you donate your funds, your fundraising efforts to the town to help with offset some of the costs and offset some of the, yearly maintenance, I guess, is it, does the town, is it solely your responsibility for the yearly maintenance moving forward, or do you get, help through the town on some of that?
We did have a budget this fiscal year of 4,000. In some other previous years, we had 14,000.
Mm-hmm.
But we have 4,000 for this fiscal year. Obviously, going into next fiscal year, we don't know obviously at this time if we will be allocated any funding.
Okay.
But that is at least from the town portion, which is for maintenance and other things that are going on. We have large beavers and other things that are obviously over the lakes as well. So that goes towards what we can do there as well.
Okay. All right. David?
Well, my questions have already been answered.
Okay. Megan?
The only thing that I had was, I know we had talked a little bit, Wilbur, about, is this maintenance? And that was my biggest concern. And so I was looking at it and I'm like, well, it's under recreation. And I likened it to a capital improvement because, and there's no judgment, but for lack of a better term, on my part, I think it's kind of due to neglect. And I don't mean that you've got, we've neglected, but we didn't get ahead of it, so, and we've just been swimming against the tide here. So, to me, it seems like it's a capital improvement of this recreational facility. And we have made capital improvements, and, Mr. Tebow here can attest to that, to better our recreational facilities. So that's how I'm like, this is not maintenance to me. This is a capital improvement. Good to see you, John. I haven't seen you in forever.
I was gonna say, it's good to see you too.
That it?
Yeah, that was
Okay,
it.
I just want to pass it on. Michael?
Number one, I'm glad you came in, really am. In your application, there was a little confusion on my part as far as Metacomet. You had option A, option B, and I'm glad to see that you're taking the approach of let's do it right. Go for it's a little more money, but let's do it right. We're going to do it. I want to ask, though, about the timing here, because the Water and Wetland Joe, why would he not do all three lakes on the same weekend? My impression is that there's some will do a little bit here and then, what is the timing for actually putting the chemicals?
All three lakes, you mean?
All three
on the
lakes.
same day? It's called money. I mean,
Well, right,
we
but
don't
you're-
have.
But if you have if you have the grant, if you have the money,
I don't know.
if you've got the 80,000,
Treatment of the lake should happen in early spring, like April, May, and June.
Okay.
But this
So we
will be-
won't know if we have this money in time to treat Holland and Holland and Arcadia.
If we knew.
Oh, okay.
Because
He's
it
not
should,
gonna
it should
do
be
it
treated
today.
before all these plants start
Yeah.
Right.
developing.
okay,
So-
now I understand.
So they do the main treatment, then May and June are spot treatments for whatever meets happen if there's stuff that's,
Okay.
So,
The-
so
the
you're,
timing is-
you're good on the money for Metacomet.
Yes,
It's the CPC funding that wouldn't be approved until
town meeting.
town meeting in May.
Right.
And that would then affect for when those two,
Correct.
Arcadia and Holland would get treated.
Correct.
And there is a chance that it would be a year later.
It would
yes,
have
if our-
to be
For the best time.
If it is a year later, is that significant in terms of, we're throwing money away, or is it, we don't know?
So ultimately, I think with having Metacomet treated this upcoming year, and if the money's allocated the following year, what we'd be looking at for Metacomet the following year would be to do spot treatments, would be to reach out to the company, and if there's any areas that need to be addressed at that point, to have Metacomet. So it wouldn't really wouldn't be throwing money away. It would just be, we're looking at Metacomet into its first year of basically maintenance at that point.
Okay. Oh, okay, I understand.
And this is the
So-
closest we've ever gotten to doing it at the same time, right?
Yeah,
It's the closest ever that
I-
even the history.
I wanna give you the absolute best chance of success,
Right.
you know? And then my last question, I wanna follow up on what Jim was asking as far as ongoing maintenance. In here, you're talking about, the cost of each year for maintenance would be between $15,000 and $20,000. These funds would be provided through state allocation, Tri-Lakes Association, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is that 15 to 20,000 just for treating the invasive plants, or is that 15 to 20,000 for all of the maintenance that's required in terms of whatever else you do?
So that's more of just the portion that is looking at doing spot treatments for the invasives. For having the company come out and look, see what needs to be done, and then to address those areas. That'll be the 15 to 20 that was estimated by the company.
For ongoing and forevermore, in perpetuity.
Yeah, and unfortunately with the,
Plus
yeah,
cost of
unfortunately
living.
cost, yeah.
Plus cost of living.
Cost increase, that's why we're looking at other avenues where we can try to get, obviously, more funding. The state, obviously, a big one where there is, a land management agreement for the state when they are able to. It's been a few years, but hopefully it will be done soon, is to get the boat launch that is over off of Pool Road to be addressed and redone. And then that would be, the state would be providing signage and things of that nature in regards to that, where the town would still be basically doing what they do now, which is taking out the trash taken out, maintaining that there's no litter in that area.
But the 15 to 20,000 ongoing is sounds like it's going to be an effort to get it every year. It's not like you have a trust fund.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be tied
Just
into
hope the
with,
town budget.
You're gonna have to fight the politics, and you're gonna have to fight for the budget, and you're gonna have to call the state, and you're gonna have to beg money, and you're gonna have to have your ice fishing chicken roasts.
More chicken barbecues.
And you
Okay.
talked
And
about.
the-
I hear the rec department's interested in a Winterfest.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, no, I'm
Team
just
up.
saying.
We also work closely with Sarah and research grants that might be available to help with that, for something like that.
We're looking
as
at
well.
writing grants.
So you've got quite a job out ahead of you to keep that money flowing in to maintain this.
And it's been that effort since people I talked to before the Lakes Committee was ever even
From the
created. It's been
get-go.
going on forever, I hear, fairly new.
And that's all I have, thank you.
Okay. No, I like this, I like the, what you guys are proposing, I like what you're doing. You know, the clarification, you know, in terms of, the treatments and, the timing, I think it all works well. I'm in full support of this, and, when it comes time for our vote, I am gonna make a recommendation that, you know, we move forward with this, so. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
Thank you for coming in.
McPherson Sensory Garden, I guess that was the last one we were looking to discuss at least this evening. And, Was that yours, Megan? Yes, it
That
is.
was mine.
Okay.
Pat's gotta come forward.
No, Sharon's here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that may or may not be
Maria?
right. I'm Sharon Maria, and I'm vice chair of that committee.
We are on the McPherson Sensory Garden.
No, I'm not as a clerk, but it's the same. Yes,
Yep.
you are on the committee.
So give us a quick overview of what you're looking to do, so we can, for the record here, for the public and for the
We
camera.
unearthed that beautiful pathway,
Mhm.
the stone pathway, those nice big stones, and there's it's such a lovely, that we could never have again, because of the expense.
Yep.
But we've unearthed that, but the grass and weeds still wanna come up between the stones, and that's gonna be an ongoing thing. Pat had been in contact with somebody who fills between with something that won't harm the stones, will settle and be permanent. And we did get to see a sample of that and found that it wasn't visually disturbing, it was pleasant to look at, and nothing was growing in there,
Mhm.
which is what we really need. So we would like to do that, and we would like to put in some vertical things, some trees that have a little personality, so we're shopping those. And are you visualizing the trees that those might be?
Of course,
Trees with personality.
yes.
And, some of the ones that twist somehow or do drippy things, or not the ones that you have to train to do that, some that will do it themselves. And we got a line on some of those and priced them. At Wanzik and a couple other places we looked at.
Mhm.
And then we'd like to put in some accessible picnic tables so that a person with some disability could get near and join in with other people in the group. And we'd also like to put in maybe some smaller bushes or trees along with these trees with personality. So that's what we're looking at. We have a pretty good price on the pathway. We have not settled on which trees we like, because we were looking at the end of the season. So
Mhm.
then you can only look on paper, but can't really see the tree and touch it, and we wouldn't be doing that this spring anyway. So you might find a better price or a better tree than we saw in the fall. And we do have somebody that's in the eastern part of the state where we think we can get a really good discounted price. So we wanna follow up on that, somebody has a contact, if they know somebody. So that's the deal.
Okay.
We have done so well with our money down there because we've had such good volunteers, and I think we turned back some money to you guys last year because
You did.
you did so well with it. Because we make our volunteers work a lot. And that's just been a wonderful resource. So that's where it stands.
Okay. Did you want to add
So I
something,
just
Pat?
want to add that since we submitted the grant, Cold Spring Landscaping stepped up and said that he would help us with some kind of design for the garden site, especially because of the tree design, because none of us are experts, and so he's gonna, over the winter, come up with a design and suggest where the tree should go and what type of trees, and that's pro bono, so. But I know, I need to put it in there.
No, but, right, I think we can note it, when you have, I don't think you need to really redo it, but,
Okay.
right, like,
He didn't
I-
give us any numbers. What
which
he
is,
did was walk around and look at the light and what time of day the sun and those kinds of things, and said, I've got some ideas, and then he went away.
and that's wonderful, but all of those things are worth something. And
Yeah.
as I've explained to Pat, I just think, that's important because it
We've had
really helps.
Wonderful
Yes.
help like that, and lots of interest and lots of volunteer work, so yeah, we've done well.
It
He
makes,
he was interested, he just didn't do any numbers that day.
that's okay, yeah, right, it's just a good, estimate to, and it makes the project look, so much better because, it's all of these things, even though we've monetized it, that gets the community involved, and then it makes the number that you're asking for look so reasonable.
Well, and as far as benches, and people are still going up there now, and I was there visitors said, you need better benches. So, you know, that's part of the, we knew that, so
Yep.
more areas for people to sit and into the woods, cause Peg and Lou had gone in and, carved some trails in the wooded area, so we'd like to, put places for people can sit if they, it's not a big area, but, you know, when you're old, you like to sit every few feet.
And bird
People have
watch and
been
all
really
that good
good
stuff,
about not
for sure.
sitting on that
Yeah.
wall as we've asked, but I bet there's some people standing who prefer to sit down if there were a bench nearby.
Yeah, well, you're not supposed to sit on the wall.
That's right.
Right,
We
so
all know that.
give
We
them an
asked them.
alternative, and hopefully they'll choose that.
Well, Megan, this is your project, so did you have some questions that you wanted to get answered also, or are you
No,
pretty much?
looking at it, I thought it was really, you know, it falls within, you know, the requirements set forth
Yep.
by the community preservation, so, and I think, you know, like I said, it's such a great opportunity for all these people to keep volunteering, you
Right.
know, that's the,
And they got the momentum, so
That's
let's
just
keep it
it,
going.
right?
You have the
Right.
momentum, so keep
Are
it rolling.
any of you volunteering as we say that?
no, we're volunteering here.
We do have an at-large member seat available on the CPC committee.
Well, we bought some tools, so we have plenty if anybody wants to come help us.
But you don't want these brown thumbs. They are,
That's all right.
The
They-
worst.
They need mulch. Mulch is brown. Michael, you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, just I do have two comments. One is the fact that you are so fiscally responsible is highly appreciated. Giving us the money back sits very well in my book. Second, I just would like to make a suggestion that you talk with Cold Spring landscapers. The trees, rather than, well, not rather than, but could you ask him about something that's got an olfactory sense to it, rather than, for those that are visually impaired, the odor of a fringe tree, for example, or a linden tree, is just overwhelmingly beautiful. And so when you think in terms of putting a tree in there for its sensory beauty, think also of the scent, the olfactory. So
We have a committee member that brings that up often also.
excellent,
Well,
excellent.
not a member, but Peg Lorraine mentions that from time to time.
Excellent. So I would suggest a fringe tree, only as one example. And I don't know its scientific name, but I can get that for you. But that's one example. It's a nice small tree, but it smells phenomenal.
Does it bloom?
Yes.
So
But
we
I'm
can-
thinking for those that have visual impairment, that there's so much more than just the looks.
Well, yeah, the world is very visually oriented, and we have to stretch a little bit to go into some of these other areas, but we're working on it.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm done. Appreciate it.
David, do you have any questions?
Again, not questions, but some comments. First of all, I think it's a very special place. My wife and I have been there a number of times. But it did take us a while to find it. In various descriptions, it sounds like it's over near the senior center on that part of the old state school. And some more signage, I think, would definitely be helpful from off of 202. But again, it's a wonderful place, and you folks have done a marvelous job with very little monetary support.
Thank you. We're pleased that we haven't had to ask businesses in town for any support yet.
Yes.
Someday we may have to, but so far we haven't canvassed any businesses to say, will you support us? We've had some gifts and some, grant money and a lot of volunteer work.
Well, you've got Cold Spring Landscaping stepping forward, which is excellent.
Right.
Yeah. And Mike, of Licky has been very helpful.
Liberty.
Yeah.
Li-
Liberty and his son have both been very helpful too, and very interested. So we do all right.
All right. Alex, do you have any questions?
Just a comment, the Historic Commission is grateful to you people for restoring this garden to its former glory. We went up there years ago and it was, well, as you know, it was a wasteland. And brought it back, and it is a historic landmark. Thank you.
I have 3 comments. One, thank you very much. That's not one of my comments, though. The first thing is you got a very brand-new, nice parking lot very close by. I think that is very important. The other thing is, someone once said about our town, it's a town of banks and pizza places. And I think what this project does, it gives us something outside of pickleball courts, basketball courts, a lake, It's something very special outside of all that other. This is something very unique and special to our town. So I think that is great. The other thing is you have a lot of go-getters that are working on that project. And that's when you say about the momentum.
Right.
It's the people that have really done that well. So I thank you too, and I think this is a great project. And as you keep moving forward, it's fantastic.
We've been very glad that this committee has been interested in us.
Yep.
You know, that you've been supportive and interested, and not that you're the only ones, other people have too, but this committee has been supportive, and we've liked that.
You're welcome.
Checks a lot of
No,
boxes
we're,
for us here,
we're
though.
glad that, I
Community
mean,
preservation.
we're just another cog in the grand wheel, the big wheel of this kind of thing, and, we're glad to be able to, to be part of that and to, facilitate, what you guys have done. So, well done on your part. So, I mean, I think it's a good team effort, and thanks for keeping it moving.
I just want to add one more human interest is there's one of my young friends who was in my 4-H club. She and her friends go up there. She's 9. She calls it the ruins. And I've had other parents say, I love taking my kids up there because they just run around and they play and they use their imagination and they love being in the back, what we call the patio area. And so it's a place where they're off their cell phones if
Yep.
they're at that age, and they can be creative, and that, I think that's needed. So, and thank you for your kind words.
Cool. Thanks again. All right. So, I guess I do have our actual hard copies here for our, I guess what do you want to call it, our field improvements down at the Belchertown High School.
I had to twist arms to get them,
You know what, they didn't have to supply them. If they didn't want to supply them, then, so be it. We could, make our recommendations based on, what little information we had. It's a $186,000 grant, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages, maybe 6
And
pages. So
can I just ask, what's the date on that?
it was submitted electronically,
Yeah.
within the timeline.
No.
So
Well, right. What's the date on those?
it looks like they postdated 11/25/24.
Well, either
Well,
they
that's
had
when-
them and they didn't send them to us like we asked them to, and waited.
Well,
Not
no,
that I'm
they
just,
sent them
yeah.
electronically.
Right.
They didn't send us the hard copy, and that's when I, said, Alex, this is your project. Tell them to get this to the committee before we're even going to make a consideration on this. So.
And it's been a couple of months since
Well,
that
it's
first.
been 2 meetings
just-
since,
yeah. Well, 1, 2.
So it's here. It's here.
I'm just.
So I guess I'm not gonna really look through this. I guess just this is gonna be Alec's project. I'm gonna have him reach out and have Eric and or people from the Belchertown Public Schools come in at our next meeting of 2 weeks from now. Today's what, the
I'd like to
7th,
briefly discuss
14, the
this,
20,
please.
which would be the 21st.
I'd like to briefly discuss this, please.
Yeah, sure. If you if you have some information, go ahead.
Okay, this has been a real headache. First of all, I've been reaching out to a lot of people on this, okay? And it's been pretty frustrating working with the school department, okay? Actually, I reached out to, because of what we did for the rec department, we dropped a well for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I reached out to Kevin Williams.
Yeah.
I said, what's the story here? It's a dust bowl. They haven't maintained it. He said, well, when we have a drought, the first thing we do is we shut off the water for the town. And
Right.
so I said, well, the rec department dropped a well. Why can't the school department drop a well? Oh, gee, that's a good idea. So then I turn around and I talk with the people from the school department, okay, and I say, hey, how about dropping a well? So they get together with Kevin, and they run around and say, yeah, we can drop a well. So I called Kevin back. I said, what does the school department pay for irrigation a year? They said, about $15,000. Now, if they drop a well, how much will they save? Oh, they'll take pressure off the water department. They'll probably save 10 grand.
Mm-hmm.
So what I recommended is they submit an addendum, which I don't see, to include the price of dropping a well.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And I don't see the addendum here. I'll be calling them and screaming at them. Because I think if we're gonna spend this kind of money on it, we have to make provisions to maintain it. So I can see them submitting an addendum for, I don't know, $25,000 more to establish irrigation system that'll work in case of drought or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And that'll save the school department money, but talking to these people is like, but I see no addendum.
Okay.
And I would like to see Dr. Cameron here. I don't know if he'll show up.
Make the invite.
I shall.
Okay.
I mean, I'm getting along with the grounds guy.
He's not the one that makes the financial decisions.
No,
Okay.
but Dr. Cameron, and there's also another issue, and that's the maintenance that they proposed. Ongoing maintenance on the last page, okay? The estimated cost is gonna be about $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how are they gonna come up with this?
Right.
Okay, the school association in collaboration with the Belchertown Football Association, Belchertown Oriole, you know, I wanna see numbers.
Well, that, and it's also, you know, you're relying on, you know,
Maybe.
fundraising from, right, you're relying on a big maybe, 50% of a maybe.
They couldn't get any fundraising for an in-kind.
Right.
And
And
my
now you
other
want-
question for that is what about the ESSA funds? And is there an ESSA grant that they have put forth to the state and or federal government
No,
in order to,
no.
you know, to improve any of these things for any of the students in town? Any,
What was the term you used?
ESSA, ESSA,
ESSA?
Student Succeeds Act.
Just for the minutes, thank you.
You know,
Well, as far as ongoing maintenance, I wanna see hard numbers.
Right. What is the actual cost of it? And
Yeah.
then- right. And then
Uh,
where are you getting the money from? And don't have the maybe question in there, because you know what? A maybe is,
Maybe.
no.
Right, it's a maybe.
Right,
In
so
2 years,
put money
this
into
thing is
this and then
trash.
it looks the same way in a year later, cause you
I
didn't
mean,
have
there
the
again,
money.
to me,
It's,
this is this enhancing a recreational facility, or is this deferred maintenance that, you know, and truly for, if the town, you know, we had our town manager in here at a couple meetings ago, you know, he's in support of this project. I mean, if the town is in support of this project, well then, I feel the town and or the school committee needs to step up and get financially vested into this, instead of looking for a handout from the Community Preservation Committee. You know, you share the cost, you share the, you know, the responsibility of maintaining it. If you don't, then it's like free money and oh well.
Yeah.
So, and again, it's a capital improvement, that seems to be,
Is it
you
a
know,
capital
but
improvement?
I mean,
Right.
but if we say that,
Right.
you know, if let's compare apples to apples here. You know,
Right.
with the Lakes Committee coming in, and they need a capital improvement on that recreational facility,
Yep.
right? They have a plan. They know this is what we're gonna do this year, and this is what we're gonna continue to do to maintain this.
Right.
What we have here is, we'd like to fix this, but we have no plan on maintaining
Right.
this capital improvement. That is, it's
Say it, go ahead.
disappointing at best.
Right,
You
and-
know,
And because we all know, and we've even, you know, we know from our, you know, water district that if we get into drought conditions like we had these last 2 years, their you know, exterior watering is done. And so what does that do for everything that you're spending on this?
you know, if this is what little we think of the people who utilize these facilities,
Right.
that this is the time and this is the consideration that they're worth, is to fill out an application, ask somebody else to foot the bill, and we have nothing else to do with it, no plan to help keep this up for any of those who are utilizing this in town. It's disgraceful, and I'm embarrassed for them.
I'll tell you, it's been, Kevin Williams has been very, very supportive on this.
Right, but he's the
Sure, but
water
he
district,
can't
you know,
make
manager,
that
but he's
call.
not part of the school department.
I understand, but he's been giving me information, yeah,
Sure.
they're gonna save 10 grand a year. Now, I don't know how much dropping a well is gonna cost, because they're supposed to give us an addendum by now. I do not, it's like,
If,
Alright.
like I say, they
Have
need to
them
have
come
all their
in.
ducks in a row for the next meeting. I mean, at that point, we need to make some decisions on what we're doing moving forward with our grant process, so,
well,
you know, tell them they need to be here at our next meeting.
ladies and gentlemen,
And-
I'll tell you one thing. If we pull the plug on this, I'll be standing up in front of the town meeting explaining why we pulled the plug on this. And I will
Right.
make them look silly.
Okay,
I don't think you have to do much
right.
Well,
to make
it's-
that happen.
It's been frustrating dealing with these people.
That's how little
Anybody
they
else have any
consider.
other questions for Alex to send forward?
You're gonna remove, I don't know how many yards of soil. They talk about taking it down an inch and a half on 100,000 square feet. Will all of that removed soil go over to DPW for use by the town? It's gonna be good quality sod,
Sure.
you know, topsoil. Is the intent to recycle that through the DPW for the town's use? That's a question for
Right.
Eric. All it says is they're gonna take it off-site and dispose of it. And I wanna make sure that if the town can use it, that the town gets,
Right, you
First
can
dibs.
put that in a big pile and
Right.
recompost it and add material to it, and next thing you know, you've got, you know, quality topsoil that they're using on the town common or wherever they need it.
Wherever they need it.
Right.
Good idea.
Two things. One is not having any cost share really is very upsetting for me.
Yep.
That's for sure. The other thing is they have scaled back this grant. They're not doing the top field. What do they have planned for that top field? Because that top field is going to be probably in the same kind of shape as this one. Do you know what I'm referring to?
No, I
So
don't.
the
Practice
stadium
fields.
is there, that's where the varsity would play. There's a field on top of it, higher up. Between the parking lot and this thing there's another field where like the JVs would play. And that's in a little bit tough shape too.
I thought that was completely independent, unrelated, and had nothing to do with this.
It is, but, So you go a couple of years down the road, and they go, you know what, the upper field, as they call it.
Now needs the same
now
thing.
needs all the same thing,
It's been
and now we're
neglected.
neglecting this one again, and all that kind of
It's,
stuff.
right,
So I guess we need to know, what is the plan for the upper field? Is
right,
it-
what's-
So you're looking for a comprehensive,
And would the well be able to take care of the upper field?
good point.
Right. I mean,
If you're gonna
basically,
do it,
some of the
design
things,
it
some of the
right.
things, right.
Good point.
We've asked for a comprehensive plan from the rec department. We're kinda looking for the same thing here on the school department.
Can I just make one last comment?
Yes, absolutely.
You have, baseball on the other side of this arena and stuff like that. What are they doing there? How much money are they spending there for some of the other sports that we have? That's what I'd like to know too, so.
I think we're reaching too far abroad. I think we ought to narrow our focus here, because I'm going to war with these people.
You don't have to go to work. They don't wanna answer the questions, and then that makes the
I
decision.
think that,
That
right,
makes the decisions easy for us.
You know,
you know,
why did the CPC people come up with the idea for drilling a well? Why didn't they come up with that idea? That's not our place to do that.
right. It's not our place to do research for people either, right? And so, right, it's not our job to go out and do the work, but we do have the questions. And then maybe we do sometimes, have an idea, like, why wouldn't this work? Like, why wouldn't an ESSA funds grant be considered? I don't know.
You know, there were other issues we looked at. We looked at
sorry.
AstroTurf, we looked at all sorts of different areas. But what's frustrating is there should be an addendum in there
Okay.
outlining all the specific costs for a well and hooking up to the irrigation
Like
system.
you say, Alex, you can ask the question. If they don't wanna send the answers or submit the information, then we run with we run with what we have. That's their job. That's not your job.
I know,
Okay.
I've been doing their job.
Well, don't.
And one other thing is,
See, the thing is,
Hold on.
there's a lot of grassroots, there's a lot of people in this town that it's important to,
Right.
okay? And it seems like the school department is not supporting the athletics of this town at all.
Go ahead, David.
I was just gonna say, another thing, if they're interested in $186,000, they should definitely send somebody in to talk to us. And you seem to think that they,
I want Brian Cameron here.
Well, we want somebody that has knowledge of the project here.
Well, Eric LeBeau too.
Right. He's the name on the application.
He's
He
the
should
guy,
be the
he's
one.
the go-to guy.
Right. He's the
put
go-to
his
guy for the
name
questions. Right.
on
But
the application.
his boss told him to submit this.
Well, that's
So,
fine, but
again, he can show up, he doesn't have to show up, he can show up and answer the questions, and if he doesn't have the answers, then it may need to be an application that they reconsider and submit at another time when they do understand what we're looking for.
all right.
Are you voting up already?
I'm done with
let's move on.
applications. I'm done with applications. Well, actually, the only
got
question
one
I
One more issue on applications.
are you talking the handbells?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay, can I just say,
Yep. This is your project.
this
so.
was my project. I did not send out the email. I had one all ready to go,
Mhm.
and then I got that email from Alex. So I held up, because I was like, I'm not gonna start asking people questions if
Right.
it's not something that we, I'm
And-
not gonna make people
And
do
thinking
more
about
work.
that application and knowing, I was struggling as to how did that fit into historic preservation. I really did.
Okay, very briefly, I spoke at length with Stuart Saganor
Mhm.
from State CPA, okay? Basically, he said, Alex, Belchertown Historic Commission, you can declare anything historic. However, there's a caveat. You start lowering lowering the bar, all of a sudden, you know, grandma's tea service is a relic. No, it's not, okay? So I talked to him for a while, and I spoke with Jennifer Doherty from Mass Historic, and I'm sorry, the bells do not qualify as historic relic. They just, I tried, I liked the project, I tried, but they do not fall under historic, I'm sorry. Recreation, maybe.
So
don't know.
I
It
looked at
doesn't
that
fall
too, I know we
within it.
kinda threw that out, but recreation seems to fall, like, we don't supply new equipment.
Right.
We do, you know, refurbish fields for, you know, and facilities, you know, that have needed capital improvements.
And or we create the.
Right, and we create more opportunities
There's
and,
one more issue.
New playground equipment is covered by
Recreation,
recreation.
right.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't.
so are we
I'm-
considering?
I shouldn't say anything.
No worries, I mean, I understand, so are we saying bells are
Well, there's
likening
another-
to
No,
playground
I don't,
equipment?
I don't see them as.
Because I see like field
rec-
hockey sticks as
because
similar
you're-
to,
Right.
the bells.
There's another question involved. Who do these bells belong to?
They belong, I looked that up, that's the, bell choir. They wrote that they, in it,
Who are they?
well, you know,
Right,
It's
it's
that
not a, it's not a,
organization, I
right,
don't
is it-
know.
is it a, you know, a mass organization that's, you know, under, right.
Okay, guys, I wanna make this happen. I really do. It's a worthy thing, but I have to find a way to make it happen.
Well, if we get struggling to
I,
that point,
see,
you
the
can't.
problem is that I don't, you know, we can try and bend it anyway, but we also have to then send it to our attorneys who would have to look it over, correct? And, you know, we may deem it appropriate through maybe twists and turns and bending some rules or,
No, I'm
or,
not bending rules.
or
just-
spinning,
right.
you
I'm not
know,
bending
the
rules.
way that we
I'm-
say
I'm-
things.
I'm staying within the boundaries and finding a way that this qualifies within the boundaries of CPA.
I'm not sure that it does then, if you're going to follow the rules. And they were
Right.
pretty, you know, like you said, like if you were deeming it historic, they want us to follow the federal historical.
I can't do that. No, I don't have to follow this.
It doesn't have to be the federal, but
Stewart-
No,
Stewart said-
they,
Stewart said that
That-
the Belchertown Historic Commission can
make that determination.
make that determination. But
okay.
we can't do that with a clear conscience.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Well, because then when the community band comes to us, because they need their tubas refurbished or their clarinets refurbished, how do you say no to that? How do you say it's not cultural or historic or,
Exactly, yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, finish and then.
Almost said, I'm
you
sorry.
done? Okay, this is how I look at it. And it's gonna sound like I'm being sarcastic, but I'm not. If you look at a photo in the early 1800s, would you see people playing pickleball? No, because they didn't have pickleball. But this particular activity goes way, way, way back. That's what makes it historical, I think.
For
It's not-
Belchertown though?
Well,
Because
for
they,
Belchertown or for Massachusetts, for what? I mean, I get it, you know, maybe this has only been in existence for, I don't know how many years, because I don't
48
know how many
years?
years. How many?
48?
1982,
Okay, well,
so we're talking 43 years.
okay,
43.
but I still see it as being very historical because it's part of the Massachusetts, right? And I don't know when that whole thing started, I don't. But I could see these bells being way back in that time period, 200 years ago.
But not these particular bells.
Not these particular bells, right. So whilst, yes, I mean, many are, you know, an ensemble, musical ensemble.
So
You
let's
know.
say you had a Steinway piano,
We had a
There you
Steinway
go.
piano.
right? I mean, that goes
But it was,
I realize
Right,
that one
that
goes
goes
way
back
back.
to
That goes
18
way back.
Right, so that
But
is
it's-
historic.
it had historical
So
lineage
if
to the
these bells
town.
were made in 1800 and they're trying to refurbish them for use again in, 2025, absolutely historic. But a 40-year-old piece is not necessarily historic. I understand where you're going, where the whole,
I-
the
yes.
concept of it is historic, but
Right.
the actual product that we have in front of us is not.
Well, we can't do historic, that's, if anything, it's gotta be under recreation.
And this is not a recreation, the whole idea of it is recreation is creating the opportunity for recreation, and I don't think
And
that falls under
They
that.
are creating it, they got those silly girls
I
going
was-
bing, bing, bing.
I get it.
And they go around and entertain the senior center, which is recreation.
I don't know, well, no, that's not,
That's
that's entertainment, that's not recreation.
Okay. So what's it go under? Or does it go under?
I don't think it fits
I-
under any of the categories, that's the problem.
Okay. I mean, are we deciding right now that it's?
I think, we're making the determination that this does not fit within the CPC guidelines, so it's not gonna be a project that we're even gonna look to move forward with a yay or nay vote. I mean, if it doesn't meet the guidelines, it doesn't warrant a vote for approval for town committee. I mean, we're just gonna say that it doesn't meet that requirement. Yes.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to, because I know Stuart's coming out, and it may be really close to the end.
It's way too late.
Is it way too
I
late?
need
I'm
to
just saying
get
is that
warrants
I'd
written
like
in
to,
March.
I'd like to talk with him about it as well, only because but
And-
again, you know
But
what I
he
mean?
already has, so, but
I-
we
I-
can,
I
we,
spent half an hour
No worries.
going round and round with them.
So, I mean, right, and, I don't know if we do have more questions for him then,
Right.
and,
and this can come back in a year from now.
Right,
I don't think,
that's
We
exactly.
can get some answers on that also.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm just gonna leave it on my worksheet though.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
So there again, for next meeting, I am gonna invite, Arcela from, Wayfinders in here to go over our, first-time homebuyers grant. I'm gonna invite, Vince Viglione in for our, gravestone restoration project. And I'm gonna expect somebody,
I thought we said that we didn't need him in.
I thought we wanted to ask him some questions in terms of, why, it was only down to a small number of gravestones versus, the 20 or 25 that he has done in the past on a yearly basis to, I think it was just 9 this year?
But I don't know that he needs to come in just for that one question.
All right, so then
I've
all right.
got another question for him. The historic commission came up with the thing that there is nothing in this town commemorating the Revolutionary War people.
wait, didn't we have something? Wasn't there something, didn't we go and see that?
There was a,
There was a Daughters
it
of
was
the
a friends,
Revolution,
it was
remember
friends
that?
of the, it was friends of the women of.
Yeah, the women,
Right.
right?
And they had an emblem that went on certain gravestones for people within that time period.
But I can't remember if it was
So,
the Revolution.
I'll
Yeah.
ask him if he wants to come in,
He
he's,
can talk about that.
Right.
We had Captain Dwight,
Mhm.
who was at Breeds Hill, Bunker Hill. let's
Don't
say
we have
Concord.
a memorial for that on the center of town here?
I don't think so. It goes back to the Civil War.
Okay, but nothing for the revolution?
So
and-
then-
well,
then-
you can ask Vince
Yeah.
that.
Captain Dwight had a
And-
company from
So-
Belchertown.
And so then the third individual I would like to get here is someone from the Belchertown Public Schools to talk about the field at the high school.
Yes, please.
Those are 3 people that we need to get in
And
for our
I'm
next
sorry, I
meeting.
just have one question for Vince did the Historic Commission, write a letter, just, I think it may
Of
have,
support?
do we even have to do it in the past, or that it has historical significance?
Of course it does.
I know it does, but that you've determined that it is, and do we need that for everyone?
I don't think you do, because this is an ongoing project. I mean,
Right.
once you have one, it's a continuation.
You can look up our
I think we
the
did
minutes
it.
of our meetings, and it's outlined all the things that we discussed, and we decided to support, including the bells, which is not gonna happen.
All right.
Okay, I will pass along our preliminary estimates for 2026, our resources that are available to us.
That breaks my heart.
Take one, pass it along. Okay. Did you have updated spreadsheets, Wilbur, or did you not?
I haven't really updated.
Okay. Well, I just had been marking mine up, so I was just looking for a clean copy.
I'll give you a clean copy next time. Thank you very much.
So our estimated receipts for FY '26 is 362. Actually, with the state grants would be 422,000. And we normally don't use any of that money for. This is money that will be coming to us, not money that's in the bank. So, so just to go down, money that we actually have in the bank right now is $768,176.
No.
Hmm?
So unreserved funds currently available is 515,077.
That's unreserved.
All right. Oh, and then
And the estimated our FY '25 receipts that we have available is the 253,099.
Okay, so
We're-
that's
we're-
available now.
So
Total
where you see
estimated-
unreserved funds on maybe what 7 or 8 lines down
Yeah.
in the blue.
Right.
Above that is money that we have from last year that we did not spend, which was our FY '25, 253,099.
Is there some way we can use housing for that sports haven?
We are. We have
Yes.
Yeah, we already
$100,000
did.
already out there.
That's
It's
what
already
we,
been taken out
we
of
did.
this. So, maybe to help clarify, you might. So, if we want, which we haven't in the past, but you could spend FY '26 receipts. That's money that will be coming to us, but that's not actually in our hands as of right now.
And it's estimated,
What,
so you're not.
what year are we in right now?
We're in fiscal year '25.
We're in fiscal year 25. So,
When we go to town meeting, we're voting on fiscal year '26.
all right, so the estimated, the 253,000,
It probably shouldn't say estimated. It should just say FY '25 receipts.
That are available.
even though they haven't gotten them all in yet, because people haven't paid.
Paid their taxes through the end of the year, correct. You haven't paid your fourth quarter taxes for FY '25 yet.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, keep going. All
So
right.
you have the FY '25, and then our unreserved balance from previous years gives you a total of $768,176.
Okay.
Also available to us are, of course, our reserves. So items that we already have currently in the bank, that not the additional 10% at ATM, but so reserve for open space we have 42,715. For historic we have 74,208.
Yep.
And for community housing we have 203,738. That 49,267 will be voted on at town meeting to be put into those accounts.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I just wanna make sure I understand, cause I feel like I've been on this committee for 20 years and still don't have a whole grip on this thing. So the 768, 176, that's what we can spend, but we also have
Mm-hmm,
these reserves.
correct.
So if you add the 768 plus the 42 plus the 74 plus the 204 or whatever,
Yes,
that kinda gives us our number.
yes.
Yeah.
But the problem is, of course, you know, you're limited in those three categories as to,
Right.
you know, so I'm looking at the unreserved amount plus, you know, so yes, we have quite a bit of money, but we don't have any housing projects, so, you know, so you could take out that 203 and not include that in the equation, so you could literally add in the 74 and the 42 as long as we were able to spend all those down to zero based on what we have for projects.
So next year when we get this piece of paper, if nothing happens with community housing, we're gonna have 203.78, 738.
No,
again.
253, 005.
Right, plus the 49, so.
Right, and then, right,
Right. And then we'll have, you know, somebody coming in
Another-
like Grantham
right.
and being like, Belchertown needs some skin in the game.
Okay, that's fine.
Right?
That's fine.
Right, so long as it helps.
Any other questions on that?
No.
Okay. I guess, CP3 here. Did you put this
Yeah, I
together?
did.
Okay, so I don't know if everybody has a copy of this, I only have a couple of them.
Thank you.
Take a quick look at it, and I'll make more, but, I wanna say from 2007 to 2023, Wilbur's kinda done a total here, of,
Oh, wow.
so we're, a total of, we're over, CPC category, we've spent over $5,257,000. 046. So you look at, you know, what money has come into this committee versus what we've been allocated from the state. I guess that would be the one thing I would like to be able to try to break out of this if I could, is what did Belchertown contribute versus money that we got
States.
from, you know, the state matching grants and everything else, and what would those two numbers be?
Right, and he said that there's a tab, once I go in there, which I haven't done yet.
Yep.
There's a tab that would show that.
In-
I don't know if it shows it for Belchertown or shows what a percentage is or what it is.
Right.
So I don't know yet, 'cause I don't know.
But, you know, we know, we, the committee we haven't generated $5.2 million. We may be 1 to 2 million, and the rest were either matching grants and or money from,
Yeah, well, it's hard to know with our money, right, like
right,
what we've actually taken
Right.
in.
Okay,
'Cause-
well, hold on a second. Let's say you average 300,000 a year.
right.
Say you have 20 years. How much is that?
$600.
$6 million.
Right.
Now, the beginning years, I can't imagine we were that high, right? Because
We
every
weren't.
year we get a boost because our taxes go up, right?
Correct.
And we get that, you know, that.
And-
And there again, our percentages has gone down
Has gone
also
down, but
because
the
as
match
newer,
started.
so.
Yeah.
I mean, but the other again, I mean, you know, we're, you know, 5.2 million is, you know,
And
That's-
this is the CPA dollars, not the total cost of the project.
right,
Correct.
So if somebody has $1 million project and they provide 50% and we provide 50%, only the 50%
Yeah, you're right.
shows up
If
here.
they provide 80%, 800,000, we provide the 200,000, that should be the number you see in there.
The 200 would be here, not.
not the,
Not
the
the
overall
total
project
project.
value.
So what, right, what
Right,
did we,
the
what did
overall
we do?
value
Right.
that,
Thank you.
right,
Okay.
Oh,
If I did it right.
you did it right.
you did it.
But my thing was, okay, how much would it be a year? Oh, it's like 300,000, we've had 20 years, that's 6 million, I mean,
Right.
And that's a low estimate, I think, of 300,000.
I don't know. That's-
Yeah?
probably not.
I mean,
that.
those first few years, we got quite a bit.
But it's still based on the tax revenue that we've generated, and over 20 years, you know, the tax
Yeah, I-
rate and everything else has gone up here in town, so you're generating more based on that and home values, home sales, everything else, so.
Right, that's the big thing.
Right.
Because it's not just the 1.5% or 2.5% that it goes up, right?
No.
It's more that, and now they changed the valuations, and da-da-da-da-da.
Right,
So-
but also,
right.
you know, over these 20 years, you've had all these additional homes built that have
Right.
also brought in more income to the committee.
Correct.
So,
And they're
And
more
that's big.
expensive houses.
Right.
Okay, so that is done, that's done. We got our spreadsheet, we're good.
Can you,
Go ahead.
do you mind starting from the top, because I don't think we've gotten to number
Okay,
two.
so continue of grant agreements are done. Continue discussion of our development of our CPC calendar for the year, so.
Oh, yeah,
Linda's
I've got
will-
that, yeah.
okay.
So, Wilbur sent me a quick list so far
Mhm.
of what we have. And I think when we discussed it last, we said calendar won't really work for us, but perhaps a template of the agendas would.
Okay.
So I created a monthly agenda, so, you know, like for every month
Mhm.
that you just need to fill in. And then, you know, then under, here, I created packets for everybody, so we actually have hard copies. I can, this one you can keep too. So we can review it, you know, if there's a format we like better, if there's something we want in or out or different, it's literally just here's the first rough draft. And then what my thought was that once we make the agreement and then, on how we want it to look, and anything we need to keep adding, I'm just gonna send this out to everybody
Mhm.
and, you know, we can just add as we go. And so that in any one particular instance,
Mhm.
in a pinch, we could all send in an agenda, so if, you know,
Or, right, or
you know what I
send-
mean, like, we have
information to,
access
right.
to the agenda. Well, if it just has to get done and, you know,
Yep,
Wilbur's not around, but I can do it too, so, you know, we'll all have it available.
Yeah, just so you know, with me doing the agenda is, first thing I do is look at his minutes, because he does a phenomenal job.
Right.
Thinking, all right, what are we gonna go from there to the next meeting?
Correct.
So
Mhm.
that's why you'll see some of that stuff on there.
So again, there's X's, and that's kind of the part that has to get filled in.
and, right, and, you know, and Megan
Um,
has brought up some of these things, you know, place notice in the Sentinel for CPC application deadline. You know, do that in June, and then maybe you do another one of those in, you know,
In October, or,
in
right.
September or October, right, you know, as a
Right.
reminder, so.
So I think I wrote that in
Yep,
October.
You did, right, in
Um,
October, so right.
Because Wilbur, like I said, sent me a list already of things that he was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do.
Yep.
You know, we have 2 meetings a month,
Yep.
but I think it would still be beneficial to keep it on, you know,
So-
to use the same one
For
2 times a month.
January, you can put in annual report is due.
It's not in there?
It's not,
Okay.
so that's something that I am working on
Thank
right
you.
now.
Yeah. Yeah, we got that too.
Well, do we want it in January or do we want it in December?
No,
In
in
January,
January, right,
okay.
cause it's due in the early part of February, so
Okay.
I'll work on it in January, so.
All right. All right.
Thank you, this is excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Thank Wilbur.
Thank you,
Because
Wilbur.
Thank you
He
both.
was he came up, he came up with the idea and I just said, you can't do everything.
No, this is excellent, and this will hopefully stop us from not
Well,
sending it to the
We
Sentinel.
won't forget. Right. And, you know, it might be a nice to, you know what I mean, right, do it in June and then do it one more time in, you know, in October or the
Yep.
end of September, or whatever,
Right.
right, whatever. We decide the first meeting in October to go in.
Mhm.
Have they changed the parameters for conflict of interest?
Not
Yes.
that
They have to do
Yeah.
it every 2 years?
No, you
No,
do
it's
it,
two-
you do
every
it every
2
year,
year.
but one year you have to do it, and the next year you just said, yes, I've reviewed
Yes,
it.
you did it. And if you,
And you have to say it.
right, and if you're on more than one, you only have to do it one time, and you
Right.
can do it from multiple cities and
Multiple
towns.
committees,
It's
right.
just throughout the state.
And I just want to think of it, just make a fast comment, I don't want to just jump off the rails, but I think Donnie's not here today, and I think sometimes we come out with, stuff that's really good, and we should just have put a file for him, so when he comes in at the next meeting, we go.
He
"You know
already
what?"
has it, or,
Well, no, so he gets it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's, and I just think sometimes things come through, like this is a perfect example, he should have this now, he should have,
You should
Megan's
have this
I
now.
gave
I have
the
one
budget
for
I
him for
gave,
that.
and then, the one from Megan.
Yeah,
Correct.
right, so.
Yep.
So, yeah, I made more than 10 copies.
Right.
Donnie's the guy that told me about the well.
Alright, moving on, we're done with the well.
No, we're not.
No, we're not, but we're done with it today.
Are you taking this for Donald? Who's taking
Sure.
it?
Moving down our agenda, Stuart Saginaw, we've got that kind of tentatively scheduled for April 15th.
The at-large position and the housing.
Yep.
I don't think we should have a problem finding an at-large person with 15,000 residents in our town, but the housing one gets tough. Is there anything on that, you know?
Letters were sent out to Pam Rogers, who's the executive director for the, Belchertown Housing Authority and or Amherst Housing Authority, and haven't heard anything back.
Okay, the only reason I say that is because Stuart said, look at,
He wants them.
I'm not coming unless you have 9 people on your board. You
Oh,
gotta-
I mean, then he may not be coming,
Oh, he'll come.
so,
No, I understand. The other thing, I don't want to jump around the agenda, but the other thing is, I said, if we had this meeting over there in the auditorium, he's coming with his presentations and all that kind of stuff with CPC.
Yep.
Would we invite in other cities and towns in this area to come and watch those
we
presentations?
had done that with Pelham when he was here last time, when they were they had recently joined the CPC, and we had Stuart here, and we had actually invited the members from the Pelham Community Preservation Committee to join us to get some information too, so. I mean, we could look at, if there's any, or maybe you can talk to Stuart, if he's got, any new, committees that have joined recently within, our, kind of area, if they would like to join us, we're more than welcome to have them come in,
There were 6 going through voting, and I think 2 were local
so.
for CPC, so
Right.
I'd have to look at
So
that.
he can.
Well,
probably
the
answer
question
that
is,
question.
would we entertain?
I would be available,
Why not?
I
Right.
would avail ourselves to, other people, so this way he can, broader audience for him also. So, yeah, I'd avail
Well,
that.
it's just
so,
a great opportunity to get everybody on the same page,
Right.
yeah,
And just people familiar with, the whole,
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
we've had 20 years of this, so we're pretty good at it, but, these new committees, they struggle like we did, so.
Right.
Absolutely.
We still struggle.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
There'll always be a
Brought
struggle.
up conflict of interest, we had our scheduled visits, we reviewed our spreadsheet and our budget. Town report is not done yet, I'm working on it now.
Yes, oh my.
I've actually, on our invites, I've also included Jill Panto to see if she can come at our next meeting also to kind of give us an overview of our monthly spreadsheet from them. I have not gotten any response back from the Sentinel on their misstatements on our CPC funding and how that
I
goes
am
about.
Very disappointed because I have been specifically looking for that.
I have too,
And
and
So
I
when
think-
we make mistakes, we need to come out immediately,
Right.
and yet when they do, it's okay to
so
let
I think
that.
I may cut and paste the letter that I sent and send that as a letter to the editor instead, and see if it gets printed in that little section, as a correction, because we haven't gotten it, from the staff writer. So,
No accuracy in reporting.
all right.
Can we sue them?
Hmm?
Can we sue them?
Oh, come on.
You have to have damages.
They have
We're
to have
not
malice.
damaged. Yeah,
They have to do it with
So.
malice.
they just can't. Right, just
Well, I was expecting this to be a, This is just a letter of support. I was expecting the Trestle Bridge. I got an email from Leanne that, you know, they were looking to submit an invoice for the Trestle Bridge, but it was not in my mailbox, so hopefully it'll be here for our next meeting. This is just a letter of support that I got that I'll add to the football, the athletic field.
Who's that from? Who's that from?
It is from the Belchertown Football Association, so they are, have a letter of support for the field over on the Belchertown High School. Bills, got some bills here. Well, before I do the bills, I just wanna thank Michael for taking charge on, he reached out to Larry Daniels at Holy Cow and got our information on our website, you know, all up and running and current, so thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
So we have, I have some invoices, Larry spent, he bills us by the minute, which, you know, okay, 41 minutes, and, you know, he charges us at, you know, it was $82.80. I have a bill for.
Drives you nuts?
For the work that he did on everything with our website to, so, let's,
We have on the website, there are some broken links
yep,
that I still need to research down, and then only because they point to CPA.org, whatever the state one is, and the state has changed their addressing.
okay,
So those are the broken links. I have to chase them down, research them. There will be another bill coming is what I'm
okay,
saying.
but I mean, Mike, I
Yep.
mean, this is like, you know, what a bargain he does for the
Does a
committee.
great job,
So,
very responsive.
and then, another set of bills that I have is, of course, this is our renewal for our actual website at, GoDaddy, our .com or .org, domain renewal, and our, web hosting, renewal for BelchertownCPC.org. You'll get them, Michael, but this is, I paid for these. These were for $46.34 was one of them. The second one is $239.76. You're welcome. Minutes. So I did mention it briefly earlier that we had an update from DPW on our town hall lighting. Looks like they ran over budget by $7,300, which, you know, of course isn't on us, but that's their overall cost of the project. So there again, you know, fantastic job on that, and they are done.
They look good.
And finally is minutes.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes as written.
For December 17th, 2024. Alex made the
Second.
motion. Megan Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Oh, what about other business?
Do we have any other business?
Just fast comment. Whitney reached out to me, our liaison, and said, I'm really sorry. I've had some childcare things and stuff like that. She said, is there any chance that I could just talk to her, and she doesn't know a lot about CPC. Can you just fill me in on what the committee does and, you know, da-da-da-da, and just bring me up to speed? And I said, I can do that,
Mm-hmm.
but I need to make sure I'm okay to do that.
You were
guys
certainly
are-
okay to do that in my eyes. Anybody else
Who's
have?
Whitney?
I'm sorry.
She is our select board representative.
Oh,
To the
okay, I'm
CPC.
sorry, right, okay.
Whitney, she's got two last names, right? Whitney.
Okay.
I don't know her.
Whitney George.
Yeah, I haven't met her either, but yes, I've,
Yes,
you know,
you can
when, you know,
talk
I
to
have
her.
emailed her back and forth a little bit at the beginning of the committee, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
going back and forth a little bit.
Should
So as
she
long as you
stop
guys
by
don't
and
approve that.
introduce herself?
Whitney Jorns.
And our next meeting date will be.
She's very good about saying, I'm not sure I understand this, please explain it to me carefully. She does not gloss things over. So be prepared to get into details, into the weeds of where the money comes from, what it means, where it goes, how it works, the percentages, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
She's very good about that.
Yeah, so I've sent
About
her a
asking questions.
spreadsheet, and I've sent her a couple of different things,
Yep.
just for her to look at.
I mean, you can send her a copy of our budget spreadsheet there too, and so that may also help her understand where our funding comes from and how it works, and so.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
And also what the limitations are on what we can support and what we can't.
Right, that's a big one there too.
Yeah.
Bells.
Pickleball.
You can't create historical.
I am waiting to get our grant for, cornhole. You know, I don't know why we haven't gotten that yet. but-
Remember, we got the cornhole, and we were gonna have a cornhole tournament over at Chestnut Hill with that brand new scoreboard.
Next meeting will
Like
be 2 weeks from now, which is the 21st of January. Anything else? I'll make a-
Motion we adjourn?
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.